Hi. So in today's video, I'll be telling you more about my encounters with my yoga instructor, with my K and K English teacher, my boss, and with my Polish teacher. So yeah, I'll tell you also how two of these encounters I think um, ended not so well for the people I met. So you know I started to go to yoga class because my best friends recommended me to go there. And let me just see, because I try to keep them in a certain length, like 20 minutes long. So I mean, not always. um, okay. Sorry. So I was talking about Gosha. Yeah. Yeah, so today I'm giving you the follow up to Piglet, so the next part of Piglet, which is entitled Titanic. And generally, I'll be telling you more in this chapter about people who I came across and who happen to be good people. Are they either Polish people or Jewish people? But most of the time, I think I refer here to Jewish people who also have extrasensory perception developed, and who helped me. But very often it happens that they sometimes had to I don't know, experience a visitation during a Polish lesson, or change even the job, like Gosia, my yoga instructor. Gosia actually was a gypsy. So off we go. Gosia is a very short woman, and a very beautiful woman with a very interesting color of the face and very big blue eyes. And I have seen a similar girl to her when I was in the family village, and we would go and visit my cousin's friend. So the lady over there would be, her surname is Cruel, and she really looked like Gosha. So she basically lived very close to the city center, which is a very small city in the village. Um, and over there, I was basically, sent to her son to go to the tent and check out what he does. And when he actually came across to join us in the living room, they were like, "Oh, look, Kinga is there," and he wasn't interested. So they looked at each other like, "Oh dear, oh, he's not into you." So that was weird, because I was interested that someone got interested in me. I was very young then. Mm, yeah, and then I used to go to high school with Justina, and Justina also had this, a similar body type to Gosha, the same height, and Justina perhaps had a little bit a different shade of her skin, but it worked in the same way on the contrast. Like, you have a darker skin here and very big blue eyes. And if Justina changed her hair color a lot, but when she had a little bit more ginger hair, then she looked like more like Gosha. So I think Gosha, my yoga instructor, was a good witch, a good person with extrasensory perception developed. And I think so, because the very first time I met Gosha, it was in the park, and she used to give free lessons over there. So that's how we met. And in my mind, when I'm doing yoga, it appears in my mind a question like, what about the watchers, the viewers, standing and looking at us from the street? And when I look at them, I look at back at my instructor, and I thought, oh, she's got a lot of viewers and a lot of watchers. Of course, back then, I thought that these people just showed up for my yoga instructor, not for me. Why would I think that they were there for me? But with time, I have to tell you that, I had many more watchers, and many more people who would actually physically walk behind me, like, when I worked for McDonald's, especially. Yeah. So, therefore, the question, I think, uh, oh, when um, coming out of a candle pause. I think my private body parts made a sound, and Gosha was just looking at me with a smile. And I think her question was, "What was my topic?" And that second, I think that's the second chakra. Um, that's the energy connected with sex. So that's totally my topic, and she totally knew about it because she even, as if adjusted her yoga exercises to me in a way that we did a lot of positions with our legs crossed and a lot of positions with our legs actually spread to the side. So I think she focused on my problem and she tried to help me because I even remember her when I was about to leave, and she just looked at me like as if, oh, I did today a good job because I balanced your energy. Because in yoga, there's a lot about the sequence too. Um, yeah, and I remember Gosha saying something like, okay, so now you're resting because she keeps us longer in one position and we just couldn't keep it. And then she says, so now you're rested because you worked hard, so your rest is deserved. And it's just go back to me now that I see how occultism functions, like, to have a rest for when you didn't work, actually, it's not the same type of rest. But some people try to practice it. She told me to look straight, and I just didn't realize that I had a tendency that I didn't realize where my eyes were looking. So I was like, whoa. So you stand just in a simple position with your hands up like that, and you should look straight in front of you. She told us not to move like elephants, so to make very quiet sounds when we change the position, come out of the position, which is very difficult sometimes. And I also grasped it that, Gosha had a tendency probably to stay longer in the right, when we try to stretch the right side of the body rather than the left side of the body. The left side was always the second side. And I've noticed that we stayed a little bit shorter in the second side. Yeah. But with time, she also had to scare me too. So she told me that, when I just came out of the position too fast, she told me that I could develop a contusion if, people develop contusions if they come out of the position too fast. And there was a story where at the time I was going to top 800, and I used to see, Rishik over there. So it's a shop with inks in Tarnov, very close to it's in the city center. So I used to go there, and at that time, I kind of liked him. I don't know why now, but okay. So not only there was no my ink, and I had to come back later when he ordered it, but I used to talk to him about Gosha, and we also talked about Tai Chi and Kung Fu, but because he supposedly used to run. So whenever I was there, I was just mentioning Gosha, that I loved her, and because I did, because she was really like doing it doing the yoga the way I liked it. So soon after that, Gosha stopped working, and I remember Aga just looking around, because when Gosha stopped working, then from time to time I would come back to Aga. But what I wanted to tell you about Aga. Is that one time I just remember that Rishik was standing just next to me, and when I was doing yoga, he was standing next to me, and he was practicing. Not next to me, but this is opposite. Opposite. I'm so sorry. And she just gave us the look, like not a happy look, like as if when I look back at that memory, it looks like, oh, Kinga, you're guilty, and you don't even know of what, because you just showed him what you loved. You showed him that you loved Gosha, and Gosha stopped working, and then I kept on seeing Gosha. I saw her in the shop, I saw her on the bus. I kind of attracted her, and this is how I learned, that she was not gonna work anymore. And I asked her, like, why, and she just told me very in a vague way that she's got other things that she does too. But I think that was the work that she loved and that she was great at. And to get that level of greatness, you have to do what you love, actually. Um, And what I have to tell you with Aga, I had an accident type of, I was doing a candle, and I was a freshman, and I didn't know that you have a special way of coming out of a candle when you use the blanket under your head. So when I just couldn't keep it anymore, I just came out of the candle, and then I had a terrible pain in my eyes and in my head. So um, and the thing is, sure thing, she was worried, so I didn't want to worry her, and I told her that I was fine, but it took me a moment. But the thing is, the people who sat opposite me, one of the guys was referred to as Mishu, and his partner was horrible, and he was horrible. Not to mention that supposedly in my mind I was like going over Mishu, and I had a thing about him, but I didn't. So yeah, that's one thing. But the other thing is, just right after the candle position, he and his partner just look at me happily, like they were happy. So um, that's what occultists do. They are happy when they do something bad. Yeah. So, but this is not only with yoga, because with Tomek, with climbing, I had the same. I really, there was just one moment when I couldn't catch a breath, but I wasn't panicking or anything. I just got down. And then when I had to go up again, I went up again. And, there was a longer story with my allergologist. um, and she just gave me the inhaler just because I described her one situation, and just because the test showed her that I had asthma on the minimum scale. So I didn't take it for long. Right, so that was Gosha. So Gosha is gypsy, but I'm sure, based on the questions that were appearing and based on the way she worked with me, I'm sure she was the good gypsy, but she's also the gypsy who's somehow related to the girls that I kept on seeing, because in the village or, at school with Justina, I think very possibly, she's somehow related to, this big chain of people who come and create the same family over and over. And then you have K and K, and that's a very nice. I hope, yeah, that's a very nice language school, and I was treated there very nice. So, I had 4 demo lessons, and I was coming over, and I was about to be late, and I didn't catch the tram, so I just called and I said, "Oh, I won't make it," and he's like, "Mr. Manek told me just take a taxi, and I'll pay for it," and that was great of him to say something like that, and I was lucky to grab just a card, just go and hitchhike. And then I had 4 demo lessons, and he came over to see my last lesson. That was on the level C2, and that was the only experience ever. I never had, maybe once, just I was covering for the teacher, but yeah, other than that, I think I had just this one. So I was stressed. So I was thinking in my mind all the time, like, just go away, go away, go away. Finally, I told him, aren't you supposed to like leave now? So he was very nice to me, and he didn't stay for too long, although he had the right to see the lesson finally, right? And then once we talked, he, tried to convince me to stay, and he used the arguments like, native speakers was one of the things that I had the thing about because I wanted to practice my English skills. So, you know, um, yeah, I loved the idea that there were 13 of them, and 13 happened to be, the symbolic number that not only I started to see number 13, but 13, comes back, uh, later on in variety of sources that I read too. Um, and I think Mr. Marek was also checking something because at one moment, I just kept staring at his wife. She was very, very beautiful. She had those very large, uh, big green eyes, and they were just unusual because her face was very, very small, basically, and those eyes happened to appear even bigger, So, oh, she was stunning. And then I thought about him, ooh, my boss. And then I look at her, oh, she's like gorgeous, like really. So I think they were checking something on me too, with extrasensory perception and akashic records and so on. And the thing is, that they paid me for the demo lesson, and that was great because most of the schools, just those I encountered that asked me to do the demo lesson, they didn't pay me, and I think they actually should have paid for it. Um, and then oh, and at some moment in time, I got confused about Mr. Maddox because later on I taught in a language school and I taught an adult couple, and Mr. Andre and Miss Renata, and uh, he reminded me of Mr. Marek, and she reminded me of a lot of women. One of them I saw in Holland. One of them was my neighbor from the gypsy restaurant. She would just sometimes pop out for a cigarette with very short ginger hair, like very boyish style, and also fatter in very characteristic. They would have all of them would have very characteristic bigger heads. Um, so yeah, and therefore I like got confused. Like, are these folks like the good gypsy or the bad gypsy? But I think they are the good gypsy. And when it comes to Mr. Andre and Mrs. Renata, um, when I wanted to go to Africa and I wanted to spend some time in Africa and maybe do some volunteering in Africa, then I got the zebra brelog from them, and I got the shawl depicting African girls on the red shawl and the white shawl. That these African girls would supposedly use to make, also shirts, skirts, and even dresses from one shawl or two shawls. And they told me that they were building a house in Africa, or they built a house in Africa, but there was no, there was lacking, like, there's so much in a story when you have to go and search in a different country. Like, what's your source of information? Like, is it like you went there and you saw, the area and you loved the area and you thought this is the area where I would like to somewhere around, there live? Or how do you even do that? Even that. So there's so much to say when it comes to doing an endeavor like that, but they just didn't say anything. Uh, Okay. So what I wanted to tell you here is what I think, together with the previous video when I talked about Tomek, when I went with my bestie and I saw Tomek and his friend. I think Tomek and his friend are the good folks, possibly. And then Gosha, my yoga instructor, and Aga, yoga instructor, they're the good folks too. And Mr. Marek and Miss Magda, they're the good folks too. So possibly I met like 6 people who are somehow, possibly related to each other, um, in a very, very extended family, but somehow, it's just about, the same family, walking, being in the same circumstances I am in, at the same extracurricular classes, or in just doing the same studies, or being in the same classroom, or being in the same work. Yeah, it's like Jana, for example, at McDonald's, right? So therefore, I think I happened also to meet the good gypsy who also have extrasensory perception developed. There's one more, because okay, let's do one more. There was also Miss Kotetska, and my teacher from middle school, and she recommended us the book about, probably it was a book about soldiers who used a lot of vulgar tongue, but it was all funny, and you could laugh out loud. And this is what she said when she did that. So when she recommended the book to us, and then my brother-in-law told us, um, told me, actually asked me who recommended me that book, because he knew the book. So I told him it was my teacher, and then my teacher had a visitation, and when she had a visitation, she complimented me for the very first time, probably. And then I go in my mind, like, she never does it, it's because of this visitation. And in my mind, I justified why I liked her, And for me, it looks like, I was answering as if somebody else's question that appeared or didn't appear in my mind. If I do this type of, justifying in my mind, it means that I'm answering somebody else's question. But this is what I know about her, not from that day. I know about her, all I know about her is from, 3 years. And I didn't need to justify to go through that process, So, there was yet another question, like, what was she like? And I think of her like being, a little bit, she's just looking at you, she barely smiles, like she almost never smiles and so on, but still I like her. I liked her for the way she taught Polish. So, my idea was that, she recommended us something, and that something happened to be the inspiration to think of the idea for writing my MA thesis, because my MA thesis would include a lot of vulgar tongue. So I focus on the word shit and its similar, shit and its varieties in language. Yeah. So she inspired me, and I just, with the perspective of time, I just see that this visitation might have been, because she recommended as something extra, and she was a good teacher, and I loved literature with her, and I basically used to love literature. You know, um, my brother-in-law wrote a story for me, and it was supposed to be a satire, and he made up a word, Trandikla, and that was totally incomprehensive story and incomprehensive word. And she somehow knew about it because she read out loud somebody else's story, and she said, "It's a great story, if only it was written alone." And I remember with her just that she was wearing a pink shirt, and in one of my homework assignments, I used to write about wearing pink and about clothes basically, and the impression we make with clothes. And then I have the entire association with pink. I mentioned in one of the videos the painting by Georgiana that I drew. That was, exhibited at school, and later it never got back to me. I used to read the Diary of a Princess when I was a little girl when I had it, and it had this pink cover. And yeah, and even lately, I gave my lawyer the USB, the pink USB. He never gave me back. When I asked, twice at least, he told me that he lost it somewhere, and one of the requests to postpone the deadline of the court case was written on the pink paper. So there were a lot of references to pink because not even 1/3 of my book was written on the pink paper, but there were some snippets. There were some notes written on the pink paper too. Um, but um, that is a little bit taken out of the context in this video. Sorry. So Ms. Kotecka also told us about Bolesław Leśmian and his poem, not walls, but cats have ears. And there was a contest, and the girls were reciting, and we're just sitting back to them. They were on the stage behind us, and we were supposed to keep our eyes closed. And they were just so good at reciting that the very first time I have probably discovered the power of poetry, spoken poetry. But when I went to the stage, I have forgotten the text, and she was like, oh, "Okay, so let's allow everybody else to do it, and then you do it next again." So I just gave up, because when I heard those girls reciting, I just knew it, and there was no point to going up there and saying the poem again. Although probably I should have done it, because I put some time into learning the poem too. And then, our friend Ada won the contest, because the teachers decided that, we had this age, the age division. So they are not category. So they are not going to look at, two the best, three the best winners, but they are going to divide them into the age categories too, so that it's fair. So I told them that wasn't fair, and that Ada and Anka should win, and we all agreed on that. So I think she was checking something, if I would say or wouldn't say, because I really felt like I shouldn't have said that to my teacher at that time. Yeah. Okay. So if you're curious about my book Piglet is free till Monday. So you can still have it for free, and 1, 2, 3. In 5 days, I'm just counting. In 5 days, Piglet is going to be on sale. So as I told you, you can still have it for free. You can still just drop me later a line if you liked it, if you didn't like it. I mean, leave your review. That will be highly welcomed. And I think Piglet can help you in a lot of areas in your life. It will walk you through the system, and it will just make you aware of covert hypnosis and the power of your belief too, I believe. So probably it will open you to start developing extrasensory perception too. So if you're curious about Piglet, just drop me a line at lkinga788@gmail.com. And if you want to check out my course Amelia, if you want to learn how identities of lesbians, gays, transvestites, and pedophiles are created, then you can check out my course. In the link to this video. You can find all the info in the link on my website, on my Instagram and Facebook account. So if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.